And I just realized I was more passionate about doing this and kind of exposing the truth than what I was doing at the time.
I was glued to your Twitter. I'm telling you, bam, they really did lock us down.
Conservative and liberal outlets that were not saying what was actually happening. And that's why they hated him, because he came in and he completely took out their agenda.
Being silenced, deplatformed, demonetized.
It is the crime of the century. Russiagate. Everything leads back to Russiagate.
You know, people like you being brave, having courage to be able to talk about this stuff. All right, everybody, welcome to the Red Hot Read with Red Taylor, and have I got a guest for you today. Originally from New Jersey, she is an independent citizen journalist who has attained fame as an outspoken Christian conservative and American patriot. Even while being suspended over a dozen times on Meta and Instagram, she's managed to attain a massive social media audience, north of 130,000 followers on multiple sites and platforms, largely because she relentlessly and unyieldingly seeks and reports the truth. She's been featured on Patrick Bet-David's podcast network, Valuetainment, on the Adam Sosnick Show and the Eddie Bravo Show. I noticed her a couple of years ago on Twitter while she was live tweeting from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., in the federal courthouse during the Durham, Russia hoax trial. And immediately I gained respect for her and admiration for her as a high-level journalist with bravery and meticulous reporting attributes. She went on to report live during the Steve Bannon trial and consistently reports numerous global political and financial market stories every day across multiple social media platforms. In fact, she just put her phone up from reporting right now when we started, and that's to keep her audience extremely well informed. And in my humble opinion, she will go down in U.S. history as a force multiplier for good and a great American patriot, and my friend, Toria Brooke.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me here. That might be the best intro of all time.
Yes.
I might need to have you with me anytime I go on a show.
Yes. How about we do this? How about I re-record that, and you put that as your alarm when you wake up in the morning?
That's great.
Can you have a bad day if that's it?
Absolutely not.
That's what I'm all about. Let's do it. So hey, so great. Thank you for being here. I know, guys, I want everybody to know that she has had a day getting here to be on the Red Hot Read Show. I am humbled and honored to have you here today, and I'm very, very grateful.
This was definitely a trip, but I'm very glad I'm here. Hey, if I knew that intro was coming, I would have been all worth it.
Do it all over again. Good stuff. So tell me about, originally from New Jersey, you grew up, I think that you went into defense for a little bit, and somewhere along the way, you got into being an independent citizen journalist. Tell me about that journey.
So I started out in a small town in New Jersey. A lot of the people that lived there were either bankers, Wall Street, white collar, or you were blue collar and had your own business and, did like lawn care type work or construction, demolition. I come from more of like a blue collar family, but I actually worked for Ralph Lauren before all of this. So I was writing for Runway, men's purple label, so suiting and atelier. And when hit, all the stores shut down. And so part of my job was I actually got to educate the buyers on what they were buying. And I had to write all the inspiration. Okay. So I would go to the stores up on Madison Avenue and talk to people. And so when it happened, it changed everything. And New York, as we know it now, isn't the same as what it was before. So my brother's an engineer and he said, hey, why don't you take a stab at like tech writing? So I went into defense, and the rest is sort of history, but I was inspired to go that route because of everything we're seeing and everything we're learning about. And I couldn't justify writing in fashion in that capacity anymore.
Yeah, so once it happened, it sort of flipped a switch in you, and the writing fashion, just surface level stuff didn't cut it anymore.
it just wasn't the same as being more in tune with the world and wanting to actually do better for our nation and be part of defense. And, the more you kind of realize when you're in certain elements of government or government related things, the money that is going into the government isn't always used the way that we want it to be. And, I felt kind of bored within the job. So after a year, I left and, went back into marketing and continued to pursue the journalistic ventures.
Okay. And so in doing that, what led you, because you're a political activist more or less, right? And proudly, and I'm proud to say that you're a MAGA. I mean, you're an America First patriot, and I'm an American First patriot, and I believe that our audience is America First patriots. And what I would encourage anybody that has been listening to this show is, if you don't share our beliefs, just open your mind. Okay, you don't have to believe what I believe. You don't have to believe what Toria believes. But I think that if you approach this with an open mind, you may learn some things today that can maybe flip a light switch in your brain as well, that can lead you to some truths.
100%.
Yeah.
I actually have to make an off-topic commentary that is a truth. So air fresheners and a lot of the lotions and things that we use are really bad for you. And the whole way here in the lift, I just smelled the air freshener and it's just suffocating. So once you know that, it's hard to go back. So I used to use all the Bath and Body Works products and things like that. And now I've really moved towards more natural options. But yeah, once you realize how much chemicals are in the air, it's it's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to kill us, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, is that
crazy idea?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but let's wait a little bit before we go down those rabbit holes. So, working in defense, something happened, and you actually made a pretty abrupt change. What was it that kind of woke you up?
From fashion to defense, or
from defense to being an America First, more or less an activist.
So the truth was, I was still doing news when I was working in defense. So I was anonymous for about 12 years. Well, oh my God, not 12 years, 12 accounts. Feels like 12 years. And at some point I did come out of my anonymity because I was reporting from the Durham trials in DC, but I never stopped. So I would literally go outside on my phone on my breaks and check in on the news, and you weren't allowed to have your phone. If there's a clearance, you can't have your phone in the building or in the office. So I never stopped, and I just realized I was more passionate about doing this and kind of exposing the truth than what I was doing at the time.
Yeah, so, I remember that. I was glued to your Twitter. I'm telling you, what was on Twitter. I mean, you would get a tweet or two from her about what just went on, and bam, she would go quiet for 2.5 hours, and I'd be like, what the heck's going on? Where's Toria? What's going on in there? Next thing you know, boom, there's one that shows up. Okay, and basically you were tweeting what was going on in there, but you were adding your own commentary on how ridiculous the whole thing was and how, one-sided, honestly. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Regarding the Durham trials?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the theory that maybe John Durham was threatened. I feel like his tune kind of changed between the pre-trial days and then during the actual trial between Sussman and Danchenko, which Sussman was in May of 2022 and then Danchenko was in October of 2022. There's a lot of speculation as to why things went down the way they did, but I was there in the courtroom, and I'm telling you, I was sitting there and there were other journalists from Fox News and other quote-unquote conservative and liberal outlets that were not saying what was actually happening. So
they were out and out just reporting fake news.
They were reporting limited news.
Limited.
They have their spins, and they didn't really get into the meat of what was happening in there.
Yeah.
So,
and what was happening?
I mean, one of my favorite parts of the Sussman trial is when one of the former FBI agents, or current or former, got on the stand and he said that some of the data that supposedly came in, via Russiagate from DNC, Hillary Clinton surrogates was 51-50-ish, which means that the data that came in was a little suspect, it was a little off. Yeah. And Van Halen has a song called 51-50. You guys can look it up if you want to look at the meaning of 51-50, but that is one of the funniest parts of the trial. Just goes to show, like, I think various people within the FBI knew that what was going on was wrong, and the people above them were blocking their ability to further investigate.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny that we go back to this, but I wanted to kind of go back a little bit before the Durham trial and go back to COVID and the lockdown where you originally, mentioned most of America, I think, at that time were just, asleep. And we're sleepwalking through life. Everything's okay. We vote every 4 years. Sometimes you go vote every 2 years. You got your job. You got your pension. You go barbecue on the weekend, whatnot. And then next thing you know, bam, they really did lock us down in our homes. They shut down the entire global economic system, and they forced a vaccine, which some people might call, and I hope I don't get banned for this, but a poison into half or more than half, 3/4 of the population of the earth. And so during that time, I was one of those people who were asleep, and I'll never forget it. It was like the first week. And I was sitting there, it was on March, it was on a Sunday, it was a cold, rainy day. And one of my friends, I was talking to him and his wife, and they said, "Oh my God, you've never seen the fall? You don't know what all this stuff is going on? You've never seen the fall of the cabal?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about? What are you talking? Go watch the fall of the cabal right now." I've never been the same.
No,
I have
that's what
never
changed it for me.
been the same since that day.
Yep.
Okay. And seeing those immigrants walking up from, Mexico, supposedly, to the U.S. border, and they're all wearing nice shirts, and they're wearing brand new backpacks, and they got new shoes, and the baby strollers are brand new. And I'm like, man, what in the world is going on here?
No, I honestly, that was the documentary that woke me up.
Seriously?
Yes, that is why I'm here today. Is because of that documentary. I got a call from my family in Tennessee, and they said, "Victoria, you gotta listen, you gotta watch this documentary." They thought I was gonna think they were crazy. And then I was the one that went full force, and I'd be up till 4 a.m. every night researching various backstories and contexts that now, most of us are aware of. But like back in 2020, I was researching Black Forest, so that's like the killing forests in Germany that Hunger Games is loosely based off of.
Okay.
Bohemian Grove, things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's like the foundations. That's that's Red Pill 101.
That's Red Pill 101.
So that's what got me suspended, I would say, most of my accounts.
So suspended more than a dozen times on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, and that's just because you're reporting what you were finding in your research.
100%. Yep. And they didn't like, obviously, talking about the clot shot,
Right.
So
okay, that was off limits.
Yes, exactly.
You'd absolutely get silenced, deplatformed, demonetized. So, and at that point in time, you were just gaining a following. Is that correct?
Yes. So I was gaining huge momentum.
Yeah.
There was a couple big people who had already followed me at that point. I mean, honestly, it's been so long, but somebody from Outkast followed me. There's a couple people that followed me that were significant, and they actually followed a lot of us. So there's a group of us, I would say, who were from like 2020 that kept coming back. And on Twitter 1.0, I'll call it, I was I was suspended in 2022 during the midterms because I was talking about the elections, and they didn't like that all the voting machine videos were going up, and they erroneously flagged me as spam. So that means, like a bot almost.
Right.
And so when I got brought back, I still had the flags on my account that they never took off. So even though I was back, it didn't matter because no one could see my posts. So congratulations to everyone watching now. This week, you can finally search my name again, and you can actually see my posts because the photos and videos are not marked as sensitive. So,
yes.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that. What was it? Sunday night, I think?
I think so, yeah.
So we're shooting this on a Tuesday afternoon. It was Sunday night, and I can remember seeing you pop on. I was like, no way! This is awesome!
It was so cool.
I'm sure you felt just absolutely liberated.
It's wild, and like it was surreal because I'm used to being censored more. Yeah. And it's almost like the Shawshank Redemption effect. They talk about when people get out of prison, they don't know what to do with themselves because you knew a certain way of life. Like, I knew what it was like to not be seen online.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And X, a lot of people look at X as that is the avenue for all of the other platforms because so many people share from X, whether it's an embed, like in an article, or, people take X posts and put them on Telegram. I obviously am a huge proponent of Truth Social because that's Trump's platform.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was really important to make sure that I was heard. So when people finally said to me the other day, "Oh, she's back," it's like, I never left.
Yeah. And so with that being said, and you being silenced, deplatformed, demonetized, that's really, when you're a citizen journalist, this is how you make a large portion of your living, right? Yeah. So explain to the audience, how does that work when you're deplatformed, when you're silenced and demonetized by the powers that be in the social media hierarchy?
So most people don't know this, but I actually was never monetized on any of my platforms. So when Elon came into X, I thought, oh, okay, like this is the chance, they're going to let me.
Yeah.
I had my ad revenue capabilities revoked within the first couple months of him being in, probably because of like old codes and flags that were on my account. I have not checked yet whether it's back or not, but because all the other bans have been lifted, I'm assuming it might be. So we'll see. But Instagram is not letting me monetize. So I have like a Cash App, but people send things in here and there, but it's nothing substantial. And that's what most people don't understand. They assume when they see, oh, you've got a big following, you must be monetized. But what they're doing is they're doing this to a lot of people, and it's almost to intentionally deceive. So then someone's like, oh, well, she's got it all figured out. Nope. They have intentionally tried to erode MAGA's means of making a living and anyone who's talking truth. So that could even mean like holistic people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want proof of that, they cancel President Trump on January 6th. Yeah. I mean, he says, hey, everybody go home peacefully, no violence, go home peacefully. Bam, canceled. He's done off everything. He can't even communicate. And so, what did he do? Like a boss, he went and invented Truth. So, and Truth is rocking right now. And I think he just got awarded about $1.4 billion worth of shares in Truth Social last week.
It's never ending.
And it's up today because I'm heavily invested in Truth Social. Ticker symbol DJT, Donald J. Trump, if you want to invest in the truth going forward. So I believe in Truth Social, although I've learned by you that I've got to change my...
I might be able to help you get your handle
I got to change
my handle. But yeah, no, it's super exciting. I mean, hey... The amount of money that he's going to make off that is phenomenal because, today they dinged him $9,000 in a fine because he broke the quote-unquote gag order that they're imposing on him regarding this bogus Stormy Daniels
America's favorite Manhattan judge, Mershon. Yeah.
It's wild, but...
Unbelievable. Let's get to that. I've got a little guideline here. I want to talk about this because you work with one of my favorite guys, Kash Patel. I don't know if anybody knows who Kash Patel is, but if you don't, search him up at Kash. He was the former chief of staff for the United States Defense Department, Under Secretary of Defense Chris Miller. So, and I believe that he is going to have an extremely prominent role in President Trump's second term, which we'll discuss in a bit as well. But kind of tell everybody about Kash Patel. He deserves to be talked about, man. This guy's phenomenal.
I think he really has a heart for people, and that's kind of how I found him. So a lot of philanthropic events going on in Virginia. As you know, I used to live near D.C. That's how I got to cover some of the trials going on. He is very down to earth. Obviously you see him in his interviews, but yeah, he has a heart for America, and like that's what we need right now, represented across all of our constituents. And you should check out the foundation, Fight with Kash, or thekashfoundation.com, and it supports whistleblowers, people in need of legal representation, and J6ers too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, good stuff. And he's written a couple of children's books.
Plot Against the King.
The Plot Against the King.
Educating on the deep state.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. To the children, which need it, because we all know that the government schools aren't doing that.
Well, and then the adult version is Government Gangsters, which you should also check out.
Dude, what a book, Government Gangsters. I haven't got that one yet. I got a couple of bangers here, but I haven't gotten Cash's Government Gangsters. You know why? Honestly, I'm scared to order it on Amazon. I mean, really, think about that. I mean,
sad,
because he's calling names. I mean, he's naming names in there. Didn't they silence him from getting that actually published for what, a year and like 6 months or something?
Yeah, it was delayed. So based on like who's named and things like that, obviously it has to get approved. But it's wild what they're doing. The censorship doesn't just end at social media.
No.
It's everywhere. And, you see like books are getting shut out of schools, and books that shouldn't be in schools are being kept. So it goes both ways for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like we're not living in a representative republic anymore. It's, maybe like we're down in some El Salvadorian third world
Banana
dictatorship.
Republic?
Yeah, Banana Republic, where they could tell you what you can and can't say, what you can and can't read, and who you can and can't talk to, where you can and can't go, what you're able to spend your money on. Oh, by the way, you said that about this guy, so bam, we're going to shut your money off.
Yeah, the only Banana Republic I want to know about is the store.
I hear you. Hey, so real quick, are you allowed to talk about how you work with Cash and what capacity that you work with him?
So right now I'm director of merchandise for Based Apparel. Check it out. We are a coalition, really. We'd like to start featuring more people that want to represent themselves through merchandise. Right now we've got a lot of just America First style things going on,
Cool.
some Punisher.
Yeah.
Check it out, basedapparel.com. And we just launched our Instagram, so it's Based Apparel Brand. Alex Stein, your favorite comedian troll,
Alex Stein 99
was seen in the wild yesterday wearing one of our sweatshirts. It's like come and take it, so it's promoting like the protect our border.
Yeah, love it.
But yeah, so we've got some cool things going on there.
Yeah, and, good stuff. Hey, if you had to guess, what would you think his role in President Trump's second term is going to be?
I mean, I know a lot of people are suggesting AG. I don't personally foresee that. I'm on board with whatever President Trump wants it to be. However, I could see him in more of the counterterrorism, national security.
He's got the
roles.
goods.
100%.
Yeah, he and Chris Miller, he's been in there deep with Ezra Cohen as well. Nobody knows that name, but those guys are top of the ladder as far as the national defense of our country and what it takes to get the ship righted, right?
I mean, we need to tidy the ship. We need a clean house. That's my take on what needs to happen in this next administration. I would love to have a place there. I think I could take names, to say the least.
Yeah. You and Mike Davis. You know who Mike Davis is. We need to make him he goes on Bannon and says he's going to be the vice lord instead of the attorney general, because he wouldn't be able to get confirmed. But he just wants about a 3-week run as the vice lord.
Listen, sometimes I don't know if it's always the ones who are in certain positions that are making the moves. I think the people that are behind them have a significant influence. So, not everyone necessarily gets approved, but
yeah, there may be a fourth branch to the government nobody really knows about.
Oh, 100%. We see it on the flip side right now. I mean, people joke that Obama is the shadow president currently, so.
He did say that in an interview, didn't he?
He did.
I mean, like didn't he say he'd love to be sitting in the basement somewhere and be able to have an earpiece in, and
he's in Joey's basement.
In Joey's basement, kind of call the shots from the basement. I mean, all the people that work outside of the extremely tight-knit group that are in Biden's circle, everybody throughout the Department of Justice, throughout the branches that are in the White House, they're all Obama guys, right? They're Obama people.
It's almost like it's been several terms, Trump's the exception, of the same people trying to pull the strings. And that's why they hated him, because he came in and he completely took out their agenda. So they are doing everything they can with all this lawfare to try to, deter him and wear him down. And we're not going to let it happen. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're here, and people like you being brave, having courage to be able to talk about this stuff and to use your voice as what I call it's a force multiplier, because because of your social media, because of your audience, because you have bravery to get on these types of shows, other people are going to hear this, and they've got knowledge and they've got a willingness now and a desire to go seek the truth. And it just spreads. Let's talk about President Trump and the lawfare and, the persecution that's being imposed upon him by the Biden Department of Justice, the legal system. He's got 91 indictments against him right now. 91 indictments. He's facing like 700 plus years in prison. And what I want everyone to understand is, if he would have just sailed away, okay, after January of 2021, if he would have just sailed away and went and played golf at all of his resorts all over the world, right? Because we know he's a billionaire and he's got resorts all over the world. If he would have just went and just, ran his businesses, built big buildings like nobody else can build, played, with his grandchildren because he's got grandchildren, had events with his children, like billionaires can do. Do people understand what billionaires are able to do? I don't think we understand that. If you're a billionaire, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, how big you want it, with whom you want it, on whatever level you want. And so can your children and their children. Okay? And President Trump could have done that. And if he would have done that, they would have left him alone, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, he could have easily just continued to be a rich, influential man.
Yeah.
But he knew that his purpose was higher. And honestly, I mean, there's several interviews years ago of him talking about running for president and not necessarily wanting to, but knowing that there might be a time where he had to. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need here in the United States. We need people to start stepping forward who know, hey, maybe I don't want to do this, but I know that I can achieve what I need to continue to propel the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's almost like he was anointed. There was a calling upon him. And, I didn't vote for President Trump in 2016.
Oh,
I didn't. I mean, I was asleep. I'm telling you, I'm ashamed to say it. But as someone who didn't do that, obviously did in 20, I will again, which he won the election in 20. We all know that. Let's be honest. Okay. By a landslide. Everybody knows that the 2020 election was stolen. Okay. And the fact that he's in court right now, with a massive, vast criminal conspiracy by the entire Department of Justice being levied upon him right now. I mean, Jim Jordan finally, this weekend, I think it was on Saturday night, exposed a 300-page report on the criminal conspiracy that the Department of Justice, the Biden Department of Justice, is imposing on President Trump. Elise Stefanik this morning stepped up to the sticks, gave a news conference, and filed a Department of Justice ethics complaint against Jack Smith on what's going on down at Mar-a-Lago. So talk to that a little bit. Tell people really what's going on here. Everybody knows this guy's not a criminal with 700 years in prison.
They're doing absolutely everything they can at this point to drag him through the mud. This isn't really even about legal cases. It's about draining him of finances because they know that he's going for the election, going for the presidency. They want to drain his base. And listen, a lot of us are tired, but that's what they want. They want you to be exhausted and not want to keep going. So this is really it's a war of attrition. And what's happening is they're literally just trying to see who can mentally outlast the other.
Yeah.
And, it is wild that Jim Jordan only just did that, and there's a lot of suggestions from certain individuals that there are members of Congress who are bought and paid for. I personally can't speak to that because, can't make any statements, but it's worth looking into.
Well, it's worth having an objective perspective too, because as a professional, I work with lawyers all the time. I've worked with many lawyers. What is it like? 92% of Congress are, from the law field. They're lawyers. Okay. And so as a lawyer, if you're decent at law, you can make a really good living. I mean, most lawyers that have been in the practice for a dozen years to 20 years are going to make between $400,000 and $750,000 a year. The top 10% are north of $1 million, and that's good money. Well, if you go serve in Congress as a representative, you're $185,000 a year, and in the Senate, it's $225,000 a year, something like that. So, good money. Let's don't get it's good money, but you ain't getting rich. But they are getting rich.
Well, you've got insider trading going on. Like, I mean, look at the whole semiconductor stock with Nancy Pelosi and all the others.
She's better than the S&P. I mean, she's better than Warren Buffett, the greatest investor in human history. But Nancy Pelosi is outperforming him.
Well, listen, the amount of congressional members that purchased stock ahead of both the Israel-Gaza war and for the Russia-Ukraine war was insane. And then I think they purchased stocks again more recently. I don't know if it was the recent aid bill that was passed where, pro-Israel passed. And again, I'm not saying one way or the other, my personal beliefs on it. I am Christian, but by blood I am Jewish too, because my mom's side of the family is Jewish.
Okay.
I was raised in the church, but I think that what's going on right now is an issue between heads of states. This isn't a religious issue. This is years and, centuries long issues that are coming to a head because people are politicizing them further to create more of a divide. It's a way bigger issue than just the religious side of things. I don't think that it's not important because it is important, but I think people need to look at more of the geopolitical circumstances that are going on over there and the actual land that people are fighting over, because it's far beyond just what everyone wants you to think.
Right. So it has to be far beyond, because we have these two people who are, literally willing to just kill each other. Women, children, innocent, just seemingly because they have religious differences. And if you look here in America for the last 250 years, we don't really care. I mean, if you're Christian, be a Christian. If you're Jewish, be a Jew. If you're Muslim, be a Muslim. If you're Hindu, whatever. We have tolerance here. We've never really had widespread religious violence or persecutions in America. Now, we're not perfect. There's been some, obviously, but the people, we're pretty tolerant people. Over there, not so much. So, is it a situation where they're, like you said, from the people that are at the top, they're intentionally driving these daggers, driving these wedges into the people using the media so that they can continue to keep them divided and weaker and create more havoc on the planet?
100%. And there's also people that suggest that both sides of the war are being funded by the same people, which isn't that crazy to think. Even the New York Post was reporting on how George Soros is funding the riots that you're seeing going on right now. I mean, remember the Summer of Love 2020? That's what's happening all over again. And
same playbook.
And the thing is, you can tell the difference between people who are peaceful protesters and people who are militants trying to just destroy property. Right. And that if it was MAGA Republicans doing this, that we'd never hear the end of it. This is worse than what they think was.
Right.
But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Were you there? Did you go to J6?
I was not.
Okay.
I was not there.
I didn't go. I was worried to go. I was too, thankfully I had a little wisdom and didn't go, but I would have loved to have been able to go as our, First Amendment right, our freedom of speech and the ability to go and protest.
Yeah, I strongly advise everyone who's watching this that if you're more interested in learning about what's really happening and who was behind to watch the National Guard testimonies regarding that day. It just happened in the last 2 weeks. Interesting testimonies just about Pentagon members who made certain calls, as far as people saying that for optics purposes, they didn't think that it was right to have National Guard at the Capitol, which I find bizarre, especially if you're a general. So one of the testimonies said that General Charles Flynn did not want National Guard at the Capitol because that would be poor optics, which I don't understand how that'd be poor optics, because we're defending our
nation's
country.
capital.
Yes.
Yeah. And is General Charles Flynn General Mike Flynn's brother?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting that he said that, because we know that Trump requested 10,000 National Guards troops, correct?
Yes.
And wasn't it Nancy Pelosi who said no?
Yes, and Bowser.
Okay.
They all were up against it. But I really do believe as a whole that was a complex operation in an attempt by people both on the Democrat side and the fake Republican side to try to make Trump and his supporters look, incompetent or violent. And I think that they wanted to see him have reduced power and reduced influence, and they wanted to come in and hijack his following. So that's my personal theory on it. Again, I highly suggest you watch the testimonies of people who speak on what happened that day, because you'll get a lot more information.
Yeah, and that's congressional testimony of the National Guard's members. Who,
yes.
Okay, I got you. So, with that being said, I think that what's happened is we're seeing the dismantling of the deep state right now, right before our eyes. And and if you don't believe that there's a deep state, guys, I would just encourage you to look, at some alternative news sources. We all know that the mainstream media are owned by the same few corporations, whether it's Fox News, whether it's ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN. They're all for-profit organizations, okay? They get paid to run ads, all right? I'm just going to tell you, all those people want to make money. And, even at Fox News, they're the Murdochs. The Murdochs aren't even Americans. They are as rhino, middle left as it can be, and they just pander to really so many people, but they're not true news. They have an agenda, and they're pushing it, and they're really, really good at it, because they also have the Wall Street Journal as well. But with what Trump has done and the MAGA movement, I truly believe in that. If we look and see his rallies, the support, even this morning, he shows up before he showed up to New York, there were just a crowd of thousands gathered in Manhattan, and they're, Ben Bergquam, they're putting the microphone in front of that. These people are foreign. They're immigrants, and they can't speak really good. It's all broken English, and all they're saying is they love President Trump, that he's being persecuted, that it's wrong and it should be illegal. And what this has done is created the largest, what I believe, and most powerful political movement of any sort in the history of humankind.
Yep. And what's happening is he is a master chess player, because he is utilizing all these trials and all this lawfare as a great public relations stunt, because all these people, all these stops that he goes to, the diners, the pizza places, the bodegas, these people love him, and they're seeing that he's one of them.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to tear up, because it's it's emotional, and he does care that much.
He does. It kind of pisses me off, really, when I hear friends or other people say, "Oh, he's got ego. He likes power. He's only doing this." Look, bruh, you're a billionaire. You get all the ego you want. Okay, your pocketbook gives you all the ego that you want. All right, the money. His plane is an full-size airliner, okay? What is it, a 150-passenger airline? His private plane, okay? So you don't need that ego stroked as much. I mean, he can stroke his own ego as much as he wants with his pocketbook. So I do believe that he is anointed. I think that President Trump, I've talked to people about this many times before, he must have an army of angels that surround him, because the evil that they want to do to him, the evil that they've tried to do to him, and yet he stands every day, and he faces the bullets, and he faces the arrows, and he don't even look worried. Yep. He's not even concerned. Okay, but the anointing that's on that man is absolutely supernatural.
Oh,
would you agree?
Absolutely. And this is a team effort here, because the amount of prayer calls that are happening around the country. I mean, America First Policy Institute has prayer calls affiliated with them. Intercessors for America. My grandma is on some of these calls. So it's really cool to see how people are coming together. And it's not about just one man. It's about everyone behind him that's pushing this movement.
Yes. Well, he said they're not. He says it over and over again. They're not trying to get me. They're trying to get you.
Yep.
They're trying to get all of us.
He's just standing in the way.
You know why? Because he gives people like me and you, he gives us a seat at the table. Okay? He is the people's president. What we just have to understand and grab it just keeps, look, I've been able to become rich, okay, in my professional life. All right? Whatever it means. All right? I'm not billionaire rich, okay? I don't understand what that means, but I can see a little bit of it, right? So the life that enables you to live, the abundance, the luxury, the lack of worry outside of your own family and your health and stuff like that, and he's given it all away freely to fight for our country. So, people that aren't able to see that, I just challenge you to look a little bit deeper. And, maybe we go back up to that New York case. I wanted to touch on this a little bit because I know you have a lot of passion about this, about the way they're using that lawfare up there with Mershon, the Manhattan judge, the whole New York system. You've got Big Tish James, who campaigned on, how many times did you say, I'm going to get Trump? I mean, how many times did she say? Okay, you got Alvin Bragg. Okay, this guy can't. He's incompetent. Okay, let's just call it for what it is. And then the judges, the DEI judges that have been put on the panel up there. What do you say about all that? What is all that? How does that happen?
It is seriously the crime of the century. That's what Trump calls it. It is the crime of the century. Russiagate. Everything leads back to Russiagate. If we had a web that I could just pull up and just name all the people that are connected, that's where this all started. Because from the time that they knew that he was going to run, they couldn't handle it, because all the people that claimed to be his friend before, they're like, oh, now he's got stuff on us. Heaven forbid that comes out.
Yeah.
So this is a collective move by the deep state to try to take him out before he gets back in. And I 100% believe that Biden's complicit in it, because why else would this be happening? But at the end of the day, he's a puppet too, because he's not the one that's making all these calls.
That guy can't make calls. Come on. He's
a vegetable.
He's eating Jell-O pudding and going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. They're putting him to bed. Come on, we all know that. He can't even change his own diapers. It's interesting because I think that America realizes that, and you look at the polls. The CNN poll came out yesterday, and even CNN, which we all know is maybe a little bit left, they had Trump up by 9 points across the country. And you look at all the interactive polls, and Trump's way ahead, especially as for compared to what he was this time in 2020. And folks are asking the question, I hear it all the time. It's not, is Trump going to be able to win? It's, can he win? Will they allow President Trump to win?
I have no doubt. I personally think there's been so many people that have flipped, okay? You even saw there was a clip from Chicago where the black community said, bring Trump to Chicago and he will have thousands behind him. This election is different than 2020. It's different than 2016 because so many people now are awake to what's happening, and it's no longer about left versus right. This is literally about the people versus the establishment, and that's why they hated so much how now, Lara Trump is the co-chair of the RNC.
Yes.
It's like, well, this is what happens when people have had enough.
Yeah.
So I really think it's time to clean house once he's back in. And like I said, I don't think that this is going to go down the same way it did last time. Because listen, if they try to rig it again, that's not going to make any sense, because all the numbers that we're gaining that we didn't have before, it's impossible. So I think people are going to I think it's going to be an uproar.
Yeah. I heard something the other day, and I agree with you. I believe that he's going to win. I think it's 80-20. I think America's 80-20. I really do. Okay. Call me what you will, but
like that Verizon commercial, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear us now? Yeah. Silent majority no more. But here's what I worry about, because we see lawfare, okay, and everybody who has an objective eye and mind can kind of see lawfare going on right now. We know that this is not the way. You don't indict a man and try to prove a crime. Okay, they haven't even told him what crimes he's committed. Okay, that's not our legal system. That is third world country, banana republic, not the shirts, bull crap from freaking Somalia. Okay, and we've already heard little Jamie Raskin say it the other day. Okay, that if the House were, if the Dems are able to get a 1 point majority in the House, they will not seat President Trump, even if he wins. They won't send it to certify. They won't send it to the electors. And we know they don't give a damn about the Supreme Court because they've just shown the finger to the Supreme Court about the student debt forgiveness, the student loan debt forgiveness. So when you've got those guys, and that's one thing we can say about the Dems, they are in lockstep. They don't budge. Okay, These guys are playing a contact sport, and they're playing for keeps, and they're brutal. They're ruthless. There's nothing they won't do to attain their win and their victories. So what do we have to do to get in that game, to roll our sleeves up, and figure out a way to win?
Well, I think people need to get more involved politically at a local level, and that's, I know it can be frustrating sometimes. People don't want to get off their couch. But if you get more involved and you get more involved in the school boards, which we're seeing across the country right now, I mean, we're seeing parents, basically up in flames about the things that we're seeing in the schools. Those are the things that start to affect change and running for office. So we're seeing a lot more younger people run for congressional seats. DC Inquirer, DC Inquirer, blanking on the guy's name, man, guy from Texas, he is running for Congress. There's a bunch of younger people, Alex Brusiewicz, I think in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that needs to continue to snowball. More people need to be inspired to get involved because that's the only way we're going to change this. Like, I believe the old guard needs to be out, and the people that really believe in what the vision is need to move in. So, I mean, and to make a comment real quick on the lawfare, there was a letter from Stormy Daniels from 2018 that said that there was no affair. And they're trying to argue that Trump coerced that letter, which we know is not true.
Yeah.
So
how do you coerce that letter to be written, typed out, and signed? What, I mean, did he have a gun to her head? Is that President Trump style? I mean, heck, we all know that the gangsters couldn't deal with him. Okay, he built Manhattan. Okay, and we all know that there's organized crime in Manhattan, in New York, and in the cities up there, right? The families, the connections, the connected, and they wouldn't mess with Trump. They couldn't get him.
And with all due respect, Melania Trump is leagues above Stormy Daniels. I don't even think this is a question of comparison. But
great point.
Just had to say that.
Yeah. No, I get it. And anybody who looks at that objectively, they see what's going on there. I think it just came out. Julie Kelly, who is doing just absolutely phenomenal reporting, guys. I don't know if you follow her on Twitter. I think Twitter's the only platform that she's allowed, maybe on Truth as well. Mm-hmm. But Julie Kelly is reporting the story of what's going on down in the Mar-a-Lago trial, the
classified
documents. Thank you. Yeah. And has just uncovered a trove of documentation of where this whole thing was a setup. Mm-hmm. And it was ran out of the DOJ by crooked Jack Smith. Have you seen any of that? Do you have any info on that?
I offhand don't have any info on what she's reported specifically, but I personally think that I feel like all these cases are going to end up being dropped. Like, yeah. It's not that I don't take it seriously. I just know that the political game is to exhaust him. And it just all seems ridiculous. I mean, there was something that came out the other day about how, somebody instructed Trump to take those boxes that they're saying are classified.
They had them on a pallet. They had them all on a pallet and told his people to come get them. So Trump doesn't drive the forklift, okay? He don't drive a pickup truck. So his people went and picked up this pallet that NARA, the whatever they're called, they hold the documents up there in Washington, D.C., told his people to come pick up. And this is the trove that they're saying was exposed to the classified documents to those who weren't allowed to see classified documents. But the unredacted evidence that Julie Kelly has... We'll edit this out. Somebody please edit this out. I literally told Connor before we started, I was like, I hope that phone isn't ringing. I feel like this is my fault. Oh, we're good. Good stuff. Hey, the good thing is we can edit, right?
Oh, but I remembered the name of the guy I was talking about who's running for Congress out of Texas, Brandon Gill.
Okay.
So DC Inquirer, look into it. Another good paper.
Yeah.
So
okay, good stuff. Good stuff. So switching gears now, I wanted to kind of get your take on some of the major converging fronts that we're seeing right now throughout the world, throughout the globe, that I know that you're reporting on all the time, which is basically full spectrum warfare on MAGA, okay, on those who are America First patriots. And, we talked about earlier a little bit of the Summer of Love riots of 2020, when we were all locked down, right? I mean, you couldn't leave your house, couldn't go to church, couldn't go see your spouse or your mom or dad in the hospital, weren't allowed to go to funerals, anything like that. But, man, if you wanted to riot, BLM, you go to the streets, right?
Yep.
Okay, mask or no mask, didn't matter. 6 feet, 6 inches, didn't matter. Okay. If you wanted to burn up buildings, burn up Atlanta, Wisconsin, it didn't matter. Those people that were doing that, BLM, Antifa, are they the same people that are protesting and rioting on once great college campuses around this country, like Columbia, like Harvard, who have produced, some of our nation's historic leaders?
Well, if you go back to the beginning and you try to figure out who came from these places, these so-called Ivy Leagues, were they really great? Establishment has established these colleges and universities as the beacon of education. But the more we learn about things, the more we're seeing, well, the more you're educated, it almost seems like you're educated to be a Marxist. So I do believe that the people that are Antifa and BLM that are agitators at these protests, I don't think they're the students. I personally think they're paid groups that are coming in to try to mesh and make it look like, oh, this is just a student backlash. No.
Paid protesters, paid agitators from Antifa. They've just switched outfits from the BLM shirts. Now they're wearing the Palestinian kiffas, or I'm sorry, I don't have the correct pronunciation there, but they're the same people, right? I mean, they're out there and they're not actually protesting any kind of civil liberties that are being infringed upon by America. They're just agitating chaos and violence.
Yep.
On these universities.
And one of my favorite phrases, and this is my personal theory, is that everything that trends east heads west. And when I say that, I mean that it starts in Europe. I've been saying this for months, and we've seen Paris on fire. Yeah. And the people that are protesting there, I would say it's a little bit different because I don't think it's the exact same groups, but there's definitely paid agitators who are there. They are trying to object their government, but I don't think that everybody and the citizens are there just breaking, store windows, and that has nothing to do with you protesting your government. Yeah. So them destroying these colleges, it's like, okay, what does that have to do again with something that's happening in the Middle East? Because they don't care if you're smashing these windows. And that's the hypocrisy of it all. And honestly, I would love to get involved more in the State Department because I think some of these, no offense, old men that have been in don't know what they're doing. And I would love to go meet with some of these people overseas and sit at a table and be like, all right, what do we need to get done here? Because at the end of the day, I think there's actually more European heads of states that are for Trump than some of the people within our own government. And we see that because Bolsonaro family, you saw what happened to Jair. I mean, he can't even run until 2028. Yeah. And so this is happening other places, and they're seeing what's happening to Trump. And that's why he's such a leader to them, because they are looking to him like, okay, what precedent is going to be set here? If he gets out and he is president again, gets out of all the lawfare, what can happen for us? And I really think our allies are going to change when he gets back in.
Yeah, like you said, the precedent that is being set right now. So any former president now can be indicted for acts that they did while being a president. I think that it's been proven that Obama killed civilians with drone strikes, right? Mm-hmm. I think that we know that Joe Biden left Afghanistan and, multiple billions of dollars of taxpayers' monies on our defense equipment and 13 dead American soldiers. Okay. And it can go on and on and on. So the precedent is one that's being set now that may be pointing right back at the guys that are enforcing it. So that worries me to the point that there's nothing they will not do to get him.
Like I said, you just gotta be steadfast in prayer and you have to continue to fight. And I am still confident that he's going to get back in, but I agree, they are relentless and we have to be the same back. So I think we're going to kind of see that as we inch closer to the election. If not,
get worse.
If not every college is, broken into by that point.
Yeah. The Marxist indoctrination camps called the Universities of America. A couple of points I want to touch on here and just get your take on really big issues that are facing Americans today. Illegal immigration.
I almost feel like they're doing it not only to try to, swing the vote come November, but also to make it more difficult for the people who want to come here legally to come here legally and be welcome, right? Because the debate that's going on is like, we need immigration reform. And the wall was phenomenal because the wall kept out drug traffickers and sex traffickers and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much the Democrats wanted to get rid of it because now we're seeing that we really need it, So, I mean, Trump's last speech before he was out was at the wall.
Yep.
And he talked about how incredible the security was. The camera systems, they had, I believe, drone cameras, everything.
He was right again. His last speech as president was at the wall. I mean, he's been right about like everything. I think, and I agree with you, I think that one of the goals of illegal immigration is to rewrite our country's history, okay? They want to, because the economy is so bad, they want to force the black, brown, blue-collared workers in America right now who are making too much money because the left has forced minimum wage to go up, wages to go up, and they want to bring these unskilled, undocumented workers in and give them a tool and let them go take those jobs from true American people who are needing those jobs, needing that money. And then once they do that, they're also giving them prepaid debit cards with $1,500 a month. They're putting them up in 5-star hotels in New York City and Chicago and San Francisco and Atlanta, Georgia. And you know what else they're giving them? Health insurance, free health insurance, okay? I've been selling health insurance for 25 years, okay? It is difficult for me to talk to American families who are struggling paying $2,000 a month for health insurance, and we're trying to find them $500 out of their budget, okay? And then you got these illegals coming up. Unlawfully, illegal means you're illegal, right? Mm-hmm. And then, bam, we give them free health insurance that you and I pay for. So, and then who do they vote for? They give them the right to vote. They're going to vote for the people that gave them those free services.
I mean, some people believe we're headed for a civil war, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them based on the way things are going because I think people are upset. They're hungry. They can't afford to feed their families. The wages currently aren't paying as they should be due to the inflation and the hell of a country we're in. Yeah. I mean, we saw under Trump, we had some of the lowest gas prices in years. People were thriving. And I think this election is no longer a political election. This is a security and financial election.
Yes.
If you want more money in your pocket and you want to be safe, you vote for Trump.
Yeah, amen. So, when President Trump left office in January 2021, the average gallon of gasoline was $2.17, okay? I paid $4.09 a gallon last week, and I mean, and it's inflation's across the board. I mean, groceries are up 28%, your energy bills are up 24%, your insurance is up another 25%, airfare, you just bought an air ticket today, auto insurance, it's up across the board, and nobody is really making any more money. Real wages are down. In fact, they just, even though they cook the books all the time, they just showed at the last week of reporting, the second week of April, that they're down 3.9% in March for the first time in over 28 months. Next thing I wanted to talk about is the Ukraine-Russia situation. Talk to our listeners about that. Talk to our audience. Give us your perspective on that.
Well, it's very complicated, but if you watched the Tucker Carlson Putin interview, I think that it's a great grain of sand in the beach of information that you can find. And what's happening over in Russia and Ukraine is there was a coup in Ukraine in 2014, and ever since then, they have been going back and forth about the land because years and years ago, almost centuries ago, the border of Russia, so the edges of the country, the people that inhabited that area were called Ukrainians. That's what the word meant. It was talking about people who lived by the border. And there was a lot of militaristic psyops, per se, that were pushing these areas to be separated because they wanted to weaken the border. This is a centuries-long issue. So Russia feels that they actually defended themselves in 2022 rather than initiating attack because it really started in 2014.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know, the CIA and the United States were involved in the coup. So somebody was removed from power and somebody was installed. And one of my favorite parts of the interview with Tucker was that Putin said that he tried to join NATO when Bill Clinton was president. And at first he said, oh, yeah. And then the CIA came back and they said, nope. They said no. They wanted to continue to have the divide. And now what's happening is they've got NATO military members trying to push into Russia and trying to go into Ukraine. And that's where Russia said, we're not going to attack unless that happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's very complicated, but like I said, I highly advise watching the interview between Tucker and Putin.
Yeah, and then go look at the role that some other folks played, like Victoria Nuland, John McCain, Barack Obama.
Listen, put me in where Victoria Nuland was, and I will vindicate the name Victoria as victorious, because I will get in there and say, we're not effing around. Like, we're going to get what we need to get done. They will respect us, and they will respect somebody who understands the geopolitical landscape a little better. And the issue is that so many propaganda machines have been put forward of who people are or what their intentions are. And instead, it's created this disrespect culture. And Trump was so respected by other countries because he did respect other cultures and what they were trying to achieve.
Right.
So I think that it's a matter of coming to the table and being able to have conversations instead of assuming and believing the narrative that the Mockingbird puts out.
Yeah.
And so I could go on and on about the Russia thing, but the other thing I will note is that Putin, in the interview with Tucker, said that he actually proposed a unilateral defense system, like back when George Bush Sr. was around, and that also was shut down because he was advocating for less war. Why do people want to use their financials to fund war and death? Makes no sense unless you want division.
Unless you want money.
Money.
There's a lot of money in war.
And so my whole take on this is it possible that it was projection all these years, the United States media as well as the European media pushing that certain entities were evil or bad? Is it possible that there was some misrepresentations?
Maybe some fake news. Hey, yeah. And I think there's another situation over there as well with these bioweapons labs. I think there's 26 United States funded bioweapons labs in Ukraine that you and I have been paying for, that Putin probably didn't feel comfortable with, especially after the whole, COVID-19 virus, came out of a Wuhan bioweapons lab. And, there may be some connections there, maybe not.
So there's some people that would suggest that the virus didn't come from Wuhan and that it stemmed from these Ukrainian labs. So I guess we'll never really know the answer, but maybe they went in there because they were like, we want to get rid of these labs.
You think? Maybe. I mean, hey, listen, I think we're going to have to put a pin in that and let that be part 2 for our next discussion, right? Maybe we'll start with the Ukrainian bioweapons labs that the United States taxpayer has been funding for the last 12 years. Hey, real quick, where can everybody find you if they want to learn more about you, if they want to start following your work and start researching and learning what you know, Toria? Where can they find Toria Brooke?
So you can find me on Instagram and Truth Social as The Real Toria Brooke, THE, Real Toria Brooke. And I'm also on Telegram. And then on Twitter or X, you can actually search my name now.
Let's go.
It's just Real Toria Brooke.
Real Toria Brooke. Hey, listen, you are phenomenal. I am so thankful and grateful that you came here today and went through all that you went through, and the insight that you've been able to give the audience. And really, I think you brought out something to me, man. This is the first time on the Red Hot Read that I have really gone down and dirty and gotten political, which probably, I don't know yet if it's a good thing or not, so we're going to see. But it is from my heart. It is what I believe, and hopefully we're inspiring other people to step out of their comfort zone and to get in the game, okay? If we're not in the game, if you're sitting on the stands, all you can do is bitch and moan and groan about the calls and the plays that are being run. But if you roll your sleeves up and you get in the game, you never know. You have an opportunity to make a little bit of a difference.
Listen, millions and millions of people will be impacted by this podcast.
I'm just saying, probably maybe millions and millions, right? Hey, everybody. Toria Brooke's been phenomenal today. Go follow her. Check out all of her work and get yourself educated. And tune in next show. This is Red Taylor from the Red Hot Read.